Deontay Wilder just lost to Joseph Parker this Saturday, and I feel that this fight's really proven a lot of things about Deontay Wilder. And honestly, guys, it is time for Deontay Wilder to call it quits. It is time for Deontay Wilder to maybe not retire, maybe not end his career fully, but to be eliminated from title contention and be eliminated from any opportunity of winning any form of significant title or making any huge money fight. I know this sounds crazy, right? Because a lot of people would still love to see him take on Anthony Joshua. A lot of people would still love to see him take on Alexander Usyk, etc. But I feel this fight against Joseph Parker absolutely proved that Deontay Wilder's best days are clearly behind him. He's clearly not the same guy that he was. And I also think that this Joseph Parker fight has confirmed what I've already believed about Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, and is that those two guys were really not as good as we thought. You know, we always thought that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder were arguably the first and third best guy in the heavyweight division. Some people even had as the best two guys in the heavyweight division. When in reality, Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua have proven themselves time and time again to actually be 1A, or not 1A and 1B, but A and B of the weight class. At this point, I feel that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder's true skill set and their true level has been proven to honestly not be what we thought it was. I mean, let's look at it this way, right? Tyson Fury got a gift or a near gift against Francis Ngannou, right? You can argue Fury won, you can argue he lost. It was a fight decided by 1 point. It was 95-94 either way. It was that type of fight. Against a UFC fighter, an MMA fighter, in his first pro boxing match, arguably beat the WBC heavyweight champion. You look at Deontay Wilder, right? Deontay Wilder got absolutely schooled and dominated by a completely out of prime former champion Joseph Parker, who's not a bad fighter by any means, but a guy who is completely out of his prime, not the same guy that he used to be at all. Not the same guy he used to be at all. Joseph Parker was able to absolutely dominate him. Wilder woke up in that 12th round, but it was too little too late. And even when he did wake up in that 12th round, he still got hit some big shots and buzzed a little bit. So it's time for Deontay Wilder to call it quits. I saw that he isn't retiring, and I understand that because Deontay Wilder is a guy who has big money fights still on the table and still has money that can be made, as well as the fact that Deontay Wilder is a guy who has tremendous power, and the power is always the last thing to go. So even with him being, in my opinion, pretty much out of his prime, pretty much washed, etc., he still has the power to knock out any heavyweight if he lands correctly. And due to that fact, it's understandable that he's not retiring. However, I do think for his health, for his well-being, he should call it quits, at least on fighting at world level. I don't have an issue with Wilder wanting to do celebrity fights to make a bag, fight in Saudi Arabia, take on easy opponents, but when it comes to Deontay Wilder taking on the champs, when it comes to him fighting maybe an Alexander Usyk, him maybe fighting, I don't know, Zheli Zhang, someone solid in the heavyweight division, I think those days are behind him. I think Wilder needs to call it quits, and I think that this fight with Tyson Fury, this fight with Joseph Parker proved once again what we already knew, at least deep down, about Wilder and Fury. You know, at one point, I really felt these guys were truly elite. I felt that maybe Fury was on Usyk's level. They were very similar, 1A and 1B, and Wilder was on Joshua's level. But honestly, at this point, Usyk would defeat Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua would defeat Deontay Wilder. Those are two best guys in the weight class. I even think Anthony Joshua would probably defeat Tyson Fury at this point. The way Fury looked recently, I would pick AJ to stop him. So 2023 has proven that Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, and if I am wrong, right, hypothetically, if I am wrong and Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury are not worse fighters than Usyk and AJ, what 2023 has proven that at least Deontay Wilder has taken a lot out of Tyson Fury, and that Tyson Fury has taken a lot out of Deontay Wilder. Those guys are not the same men that they were prior to fighting each other. They gave themselves everything, and they took a lot of punishment in the process, and maybe that's what the truth is. Maybe they were as good as AJ and Usyk were off of ability, maybe even arguably better, some would argue, and maybe just that they took so much out of each other in their fights against each other, their wars, because 2 of those 3 fights were wars, especially the third one. The first one wasn't really a war, but it was pure cinema. The second one was a complete beatdown, and Wilder took so much punishment. And the third one was a complete battle, but Wilder took a lot of punishment again. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe they were on the level of AJ and Usyk, and it's more that they've taken so much punishment in their careers that they just aren't the same men. But overall, as I said, it's time for Wilder to consider calling it quits. It's time for him to consider moving on to the sport of boxing. I mean, this guy Wilder, I know he can start his own promotional company. He has power in the sport. He's a very prominent and big name. He's a guy that can definitely make money in boxing without having to fight. And as I'm saying, previously. Even though I would like to see Wilder call it quits and retire, he doesn't have to retire. He does have the power to knock out these guys. However, I do think that him continuing to fight is a big risk. If he doesn't fight the guys that are going to walk into that right hand, he can take another loss and another loss and another loss, and he could really ruin his reputation. He can definitely tarnish his legacy. I mean, this Joseph Parker fight arguably tarnished his legacy, in my opinion. Joseph Parker schooling Deontay Wilder, winning a wide decision, and after Joseph Parker got knocked out by Joe Joyce, and yes, I understand he's bounced back from that defeat against some relatively unknown or fringe contender opponents. I understand that, but Wilder having a loss to Joseph Parker in his resume, especially as wide as he did, without even able to drop Parker or hurt him, that definitely makes people look at Wilder's career overall differently. Would Joseph Parker have beaten Deontay Wilder if they fought and they unified back in 2018? Who knows? Maybe Deontay Wilder really wasn't as good as he got credit for. I mean, when you look at the guys he's knocked out, you look at his biggest wins, the two Stavern wins, the Luis Ortiz wins. I mean, the Luis Ortiz wins are literally carrying Wilder's entire legacy, if we're being honest. If he didn't have those Luis Ortiz wins, he would completely look like a fraud by losing to Joseph Parker. Those Luis Ortiz wins are saving Wilder's career at this point, especially the first one. The second one, no one really wanted to see that, but the first Luis Ortiz win is still making people say, oh, yes, Wilder's resume is pretty shallow. Yes, he got dominated by Fury and Parker, but he does have an elite win against Luis Ortiz. He has proven to be world level. If it wasn't for those Luis Ortiz wins, especially the first, as I mentioned, I would genuinely be curious if Wilder was any good at all. I mean, Tyson Fury doesn't look great, and when you look at Tyson Fury, he is on fraud watch right now. He beat Vladimir Klitschko. Yes, that's a great win, and he dethroned Vladimir Klitschko, but off of not achievements, but off of ability. Was that Klitschko win even that impressive? I mean, Klitschko had a relatively difficult fight with Bryant Jennings. I don't know why that fell. Let me fix that. He had a relatively difficult fight with Bryant Jennings, a year or 8 months prior to facing Tyson Fury. Bryant Jennings, in hindsight, that win doesn't really look that great. Yes, Jennings is an awkward... Okay, this is just going to keep falling. I don't know why this is doing this. I'm not going to edit this out. Bryant Jennings is an awkward opponent. He is slick, etc. But... he was nothing amazing. He wasn't a world beater. He was solid. He was a fun up-and-coming fighter. And he gave Klitschko a lot of problems. People don't bring that up. Klitschko, he clearly did not look the same against Jennings. A lot of people were talking about that before he fought Tyson Fury. And then when he fought Tyson Fury, Fury was able to do the bare minimum and win a very dull decision. Yes, he did it in Germany. Yes, he dethroned a unified champ. And yes, on paper, it's a great win. But I'm talking about Fury's ability. Is Tyson Fury that great of a fighter in hindsight? I mean... He nearly got knocked out cold by Deontay Wilder in the first fight. As we're talking right now, Deontay Wilder may not have been as good as we thought. The second fight, he dominated. The third fight, he almost got stopped as well. Yeah, he dominated Derek Chisora. What does that mean? I mean, I guess it means something because Joseph Parker, in my opinion, lost to Chisora, but he fought Chisora after Chisora got dominated in the rematch by Joseph Parker. So he dominates Derek Chisora. I think him knocking out Dillian White does look good. That is a nice win. He caught him with the uppercut, but he was also dominating me ahead of time. But when you look at Tyson Fury's career and his accolades, he is on fraud watch 100% because the Deontay Wilder wins don't look as great as time is going on. And he went life and death twice with Wilder. The one time he dominated him, and then the third fight, he nearly got stopped. The first fight, many people, I would say probably 40% of people you ask, say that first fight should have been a KO win for Wilder. So Tyson Fury is not looking as great, and as I mentioned before, Deontay Wilder is definitely not looked as great as of late, and I feel Wilder and Fury have both been exposed to not be the fighters that we thought they were. Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua have been the two consistent guys in the heavyweight division, especially AJ, to be honest, because Usyk still is kind of new at the heavyweight division, right? But yes, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, Anthony Joshua was stopped by Ruiz. He was stopped by this 20-1 underdog, so AJ's a fraud. But AJ avenged that loss and dominated Ruiz. And in hindsight, Ruiz, that win isn't aging too terribly. I mean, we saw Ruiz just defeat Deontay Wilder's best win in Luis Ortiz. Yes, it wasn't very impressive. Yes, he had a lot of issues and struggled, and the knockdown saved him. But Andy Ruiz is not a bad fighter. He also arguably beat Joseph Parker in his own right, and AJ was able to dominate him in the rematch. He got caught and he got stopped the first time around, but he made up for it. I'm still to see Deontay Wilder avenge one of his defeats, and Tyson Fury... I mean, I went this whole video about even bringing up the travesty and catastrophe of that entire Francis Ngannou saga. That honestly is the main reason I'm coming at Fury right now, is how terrible he looked in that fight. I brought it up briefly, but I didn't go into detail. Going life and death and winning a split decision against an MMA fighter who's never boxed in a pro fight. And yes, Ngannou does have power. We all notice. But come on, guys. He should not have been able to touch Tyson Fury. He should have been stopped in the first 2-3 rounds, if we're being objective. And Fury arguably lost that fight, which is an embarrassment in its own right. So when you look at what they've done, and then you look at AJ, who's been consistent, right? He avenged that Ruiz loss, and prior to Ruiz, his resume was stellar for a guy his age. He took out so many great fighters, or elite fighters at least. Joseph Parker, he beat when he was undefeated and the champion in his prime. He beat Joseph Parker. He beat Alexander Povetkin. He beat Klitschko, and I'm not going to lie, a lot of people are going to say, oh, Fury beat him first, and Klitschko was on a 2-year layoff and whatever. But a Klitschko that fought AJ looked alive. I'm not going to say he looked like the Klitschko Vol, but he had that fire in his eyes that he did not have at all in the Tyson Fury fight. The Fury fight, I know he was frustrated and lost, but Fury, you can argue, looked less impressive than AJ because AJ fought Klitschko. Fury just did the bare minimum and got a decision. So yes, Fury's win against Klitschko is better, but AJ's win against Klitschko isn't much worse. People don't give him enough credit for that Klitschko win. And then after he avenged the Ruiz fight, right, he kept going. Also after the Ruiz fight, he knocked out Kubrat Pulev, and I know it's not a great win, but it's a nice little win to have. He knocked out Pulev, he fought Usyk twice, got dominated the first time, but made it a great fight in the second fight. Almost avenged that loss, and I give AJ a lot of credit for how he looked in that second Usyk fight. He deserves more credit for that performance. And then recently, the win against Otto Wallin, you guys got to realize Otto Wallin, this is another example of Tyson Fury maybe not being as good as we thought he was, right? Otto Wallin, in 99.5% of fights, would have gotten a stoppage victory over Tyson Fury if that cut. He completely destroyed Fury's eye. It was probably the second worst cut I've seen in boxing, second to Badu Jack's cut against Marcus Brown. It was a brutal cut, a cut that was, quite difficult to look at. 2019 had a few of those cuts, didn't they? They also had, as I said, the Badu Jack cut was in the same year. Beginning of 2020 was the Jojo Diaz cut against Tevin Farmer, which I saw in person. There was a lot of bad cuts in that period of time, but the Tyson Fury one was brutal. It was a brutal cut. You show any non-boxing fan that cut, they grimace. They even gag to an extent. I mean, I've done it before. I've shown non-boxing fans Tyson Fury's cut in that fight, and they all give me a very similar reaction. They're all pretty disgusted and horrified when they look at it. So that fight showed, and keep in mind, Otto Wallin was virtually unknown. Yes, I gave Wallin credit prior to the fight. I said Wallin's going to give Fury a better fight than people expect, but I didn't expect that. I didn't expect Fury to, basically get saved by the commission and get saved by the promotion, because any other fighter would have been stopped, or any other non-big name. If it was the other way around, they would have stopped it for sure. And he went life and death with Wallin. He lost a good 3-4, some even say 5 rounds to Wallin. He struggled in that fight, probably due to the cut, but in general he struggled. AJ takes on Otto Wallin. Keep in mind, Wallin is now proven now. He's fought on world level, and he's coming off the best win of his career, beating my boy Murat Gassiev on points. Big fan of Gassiev. I actually thought Gassiev would beat him. He outpoints Gassiev, and he has a little bit of momentum to his name. He takes on AJ, and AJ makes him quit in 5 and dominates him. So how good was Tyson Fury this whole time? He goes life and death. And I know everyone's going to say, oh, the triangle theory doesn't work. And I'm not saying it works, but guys, this is just more further proof. There's so much evidence against Fury, and this is just another example. AJ makes him quit in 5, dominates him, embarrasses him, makes him look like a fraud, makes him look like a D-level fighter. Tyson Fury goes absolute life and death of him. And then you look at Usyk. Usyk beat AJ twice. I think that's all you really need to hear. He beat AJ twice, and yes, he has a Dubois win. I'm not going to get into too much into the Daniel Dubois fight, because I think that fight's ridiculous. And anyone even suggesting that Daniel Dubois is capable of beating Alexander Usyk, and I don't care that people don't think it was a low blow. It was low, guys. If you look at the replay, it was below the belt. It wasn't super low, but it was low. I know if you look at it sideways, it looks like it's on the belt, right, after the punch has already landed for a couple seconds. The punch lands low and strays up. That's what happened. It's common sense. Anyone that looks at it will see it. The fact that Daniel Dubois is even in contention with beating Alexander Usyk, a B- fighter beating an A+ fighter, is laughable to me. Usyk got up from that knockdown, dominated him, and stopped him. If he was able to hurt him so badly to the body, how come he was only able to do it when he hit him low? He couldn't hit him cleanly to the body and do that. He couldn't do that again for the rest of the fight, which I believe proves that it really wasn't a legal shot. But anyways, Usyk proved against AJ twice and against Dubois that he is elite in the heavyweight division. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder have not done too much of that, in my opinion, as of late. And to wrap this video up, because I've been rambling a little too much, nearly 15 minutes. Sometimes that just happens, right? It's time for Deontay Wilder to maybe not call it quits, but I would say if I'm Wilder, right, maybe cash out in Saudi Arabia, and maybe have one last fight in Tuscaloosa, and then call it a day. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Tell me in the comment section below. Tell me your thoughts on both fighters. What did you think of the event last week as well? I didn't really go too into detail on that. Have a good one, guys. God bless. I'll see you guys later. Peace.